It's Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Steelers, Packers, Aaron Rodgers revenge game? We'll talk about that here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Chris Carter of Locked On Steelers. He's Peter Bukowski of Locked On Packers. And it's Steelers-Packers on Sunday Night Football, a big-time matchup, of course. Legendary quarterback facing the team that he was legendary with. We'll get into all that in a bit. But first, remind you, this show is brought to you on Crossover Thursday, as always, by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL and you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Peter, both sides seem to be playing down it's not a revenge game. There's no noise there. Nothing at all. No, we're past that. We're
no,
happy.
Of course not. Why would anyone think there would be any issues? Why would Aaron Rodgers ever hold a grudge? That is just that would be so unlike him to do that, Chris.
Exactly.
It was funny because David Bakhtiari mentioned this, that it was going to happen, that Aaron Rodgers was going to say all the right things, and Matt LaFleur was going to say all the right things, and Jordan Love was going to say all the right things. But you would not be a human being if you didn't feel it a little, right? Like you would not be a red-blooded American man if you did not feel it just a little bit here, right? Because and you know, you could be anyone. If you're a competitor, you want this game a little bit more. They can say whatever they want. This game is going to mean a little bit more. I feel bad that they're going to put them in those horrible throwback uniforms for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, they look so bad, Peter.
Chris, why did they do that? Why did they? Aaron Rodgers, you get one shot at playing the Packers and you're going to play in the come on. This should have been the 2010 Super Bowl rematch in terms of uniforms. Like, what are we doing? This is nonsense.
The Steelers, whenever they want to go to these alternate jerseys, the problem is all the good jerseys for the Steelers are classic looking. So, like, if you're thinking selling jerseys, you got to go with the crazy bumblebee look or like this look that looks. They all look ridiculous.
I have the same problem with the Packers, Chris, because I'm just like, the Packers jerseys are the throwbacks. It's fine. They're exactly. This is the jersey. This has been the jersey from time immemorial. Like, why are we doing this? And even more so in a situation like this. But you're so right. And even with Jordan Love, who Aaron Rodgers, by the way, treated with it is. I have been a critic for those Steelers fans listening that are not familiar with my work. For those of you not familiar with my game, I have been very critical of Aaron Rodgers over the years, and that's not going to be news to my listeners at all. But one thing that he did that I will say is more mature than I would say 98% of people would act is he resented the hell out of the Jordan Love pick, and he never ever took it out on Jordan Love. And that is an incredible testament to maybe a person's ability to compartmentalize. I don't know, but he always directed that anger at the Packers, not Jordan Love. Listen to anyone tell a story of the first couple years when Jordan Love was there. Rodgers was the guy to Love that Brett Favre never was to him, and he set out to be that. And that doesn't mean that the ending wasn't acrimonious. It was. That doesn't mean that Aaron Rodgers didn't want Mark Murphy and or Brian Gutekunst fired in 2021. He did. And so, like, let's be honest about it. Aaron Rodgers is the petty king. No one is pettier in the NFL than Aaron Rodgers. And the good news for the Steelers is their coach is kind of just as petty, like Mike Tomlin. I loved last week when he was like, I don't know what the hell. Like, what did he say? Andrew Barry must be smarter than me. Like, what a just deliciously petty comment. And so that's why this works. That's why they're a good match, I think, in a lot of ways, because they share that. Just like they are, you know, I can't say the word, but they are MFers in the best possible way as competitors.
No, I agree. Listen, man, they take this. Listen, Mike Tomlin has a thing called a petty game ball that he hands out, and it's like when a player is playing a team that he has a reason to be a little petty at, and they have a big game against them.
Oh my God,
he'll give them a little petty game ball. Like Russell Wilson actually exposed that to us a bit last year, and we were like, what? And he was like, oh yeah, Mike has, like, you know, the whole petty game ball thing. He does that to guys, and Mike was like, you guys weren't supposed to know that. So Russell Wilson let us in on a little bit that last year, but listen. As a person who's already started to pick up on Aaron Rodgers' tendencies as the reporter in the room, Aaron Rodgers is really good at saying the right thing in the right moment to avoid the he's doing all like when he got to Pittsburgh, I was worried like, man, how many times am I gonna have to watch the Pat McAfee show to see what he says is crazy and talks about vaccines?
Yeah, I live that life.
But he's stayed away from that in Pittsburgh. And then that's been refreshing for me as a reporter. But like I've also started to pick up where he does play his game still. For example, the week leading up to the Jets, it's fine. The Jets are the Jets. I'm here to win football games. I'm here about to be about the Steelers. But when he beat the Jets, he was like, oh yeah, I let them know. Like that was a bit part. And after the game was over, he's like, yeah, let them know. But like he talked his talk a little bit after that game. And listen, that's fine. That's okay. But I also understand my job, one of my things about you, do not give people bulletin board material. You do not give the other side put something to slap on the board on Friday and be like, you see what he said about you this week? And that's what Aaron Rodgers is avoiding. And that's what Matt LaFleur is avoiding because both sides respect each other. And I think that's the cool thing about this is that Matt LaFleur, Mike Tomlin, head coach to head coach, a lot of respect. Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, quarterback to quarterback, a lot of respect. And these two sides, they say, hey, let's not give each other any. Let's not give the other side any ammunition. Let's focus on ourselves and get through this and come out with the dub. Then we can start talking.
Remember the Seinfeld episode about the fully mutual breakup and how that does not exist. This was a fully mutual breakup. No, that's not to say. Well, there is no such thing as a fully mutual breakup, right? But when this happened, Aaron Rodgers wanted to go. The Packers were ready to move on. And so that doesn't mean there were no hard feelings, but both sides got what they wanted ultimately. So I thought Aaron Rodgers, his comments in the locker room yesterday were telling to me. He was asked about this, I believe, by Brooke Pryor from ESPN about, does the distance change the way that you feel about this? And he said the phrase, I was floored by this, Chris. He said, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Mm-hmm. And I thought like, maybe that was a little shade at the Jets, right? Like, because he was like, I'd like to go somewhere else where they're going to give me everything I want, which Green Bay was not going to do. The Jets did. And he found out that didn't make him happy. And the grass is not always greener. And it does seem like he has found a place that does make him happy, where the culture is the way that he wants. And that he seems to have bought in. Chris, he has bought in. We'll get to some of this in the matchups and stuff, but he has bought in a way to Arthur Smith's offense that I just never thought he would. The style that he is playing is just not a style I thought I would see Aaron Rodgers at 41 years old playing. And that is a testament to him. And so I do think this is less acrimonious than it would have been had this been 2023. Like, I think that would have been blood and guts, like F these guys. Like, it would have been a different thing. I think some distance has cooled heads. Brian Gutekunst is not playing. I do think there's probably some more acrimony there between Gutekunst and Rodgers. The general manager doesn't play. The players do. And Matt LaFleur pointed out this week, Chris, there aren't that many Packers that have even played with Aaron Rodgers on this team.
Aaron Rodgers brought that out himself. He was like, I don't know that many people over there now.
Right. It's like Rashawn Gary, Elton Jenkins, and then the 2022 draft class. And like, that's it. Because the 2021 draft class does not exist in Green Bay. And most of the 2020 draft class doesn't exist in Green Bay outside of Rashawn Gary and Darnell. That was the 19 class. But so even so, Jordan Love was in the 20 class, and the rest of that 20 class is out the door. So there just aren't that many guys that even played with him. I think it's less than 5 have played with him for more than one season in Green Bay. So the players are not going to care. This is Matt LaFleur said, this is for you guys to talk about. Here we are talking about it. It is for us to talk about. And it does matter. Like, which side do you think wants this more? Like, who's extra is going to be more on Sunday, you think?
I think Aaron Rodgers wants it, but I think it's more of a nostalgic thing than it is a burn thing. I think he wants to have it in like that thing on his mantle in the back to be like, hey, when I got the Packers, I beat every team in the NFL. Yeah. I did that because this is his only chance he's going to get at that, right? So I think he wants that. Whereas the Packers, it's like if you beat Aaron Rodgers, it's like, okay, huzzah! But like the Packers are Super Bowl favorites to me. Like, right. I think like this is a game that I think that they should win by their own merits, and like that's where
they're set up for a couple years here. Like one game is not gonna affect their outlook as much as it will affect Aaron Rodgers' legacy to have won it. Exactly. Which, if you're a Packers fan, is a reason to be, I think, nervous about it, because those sorts of things do matter. And attitude reflects leadership. Like if everyone can sense that this means a little bit extra to Aaron Rodgers, that is incentive for the team to play a little bit harder, to rally around him a little bit. I know this is not, Brett Favre when his dad passed away, and like the receivers in that game caught everything on Monday Night Football. Like that was one of just the all-time, I'll never forget watching that game, all-time moment. Because Rodgers has been there for 6-8 months. So it's a different vibe. But that stuff I think does matter, at least on the margins. And we know Rodgers is like the pettiest player in the NFL. Like it will motivate him in a way that it would not motivate most players. He's going to manufacture slights, Chris, if he has to.
Let's talk about the other side of the ball too, because there's superstar players at the edge rusher position on both teams.
Yeah,
that's also going to be a key. We'll talk about that next here. Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Chris Carter, Peter Bukowski. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I remind you, this show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards, Saquon Barkley's rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, run your game. We're also brought to you by GameTime. The NFL season is well underway. Honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, prices, jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use GameTime, the app that gives you the advantage back to your fans. GameTime is fast, easy, and backed by the GameTime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price that you see is the price that you pay. I pulled up GameTime, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. I love zone deals too. You pick the section, GameTime picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any way I've ever bought tickets. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, toe. Download GameTime today. Keeping it rolling here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Crossover Thursday. Peter Bukowski, Chris Carter. I'm Chris Carter. He's Peter Bukowski. But let's talk about the defenses here. Peter, both teams feature a guy that is considered the best edge rusher in the NFL. And when asked about Micah Parsons, Aaron Rodgers compared him to TJ Watt, also compared him to Myles Garrett, who the Steelers just played a couple weeks ago with the Cleveland Browns, talking about how you have to have 4 hands on him at all times. And Peter, I went back and looked at the Cardinals game, what the Cardinals talking about. They said that they were okay leaving him in one-on-ones. And I don't know what in the world the Cardinals think, but you do not leave Micah Parsons one-on-one.
Look, Jeff Jagosinski, former Packers offensive coordinator, is on our squad show. And we have a group chat with him that we kind of, we hit up during the games. And he was like, this is coaching malpractice. What are they doing? Why are they single covering Micah Parsons? And what's crazy, Chris, is even with that game where they did not send a double consistently at Micah, he is the most chipped and doubled player in the NFL by Pro Football Focus charting, and still is, by Pro Football Focus's own charting, second in the NFL in pressures with the bye week. With the early bye week, he's 1 pressure behind Jared Verse, and Jared Verse has played an entire game more than Micah Parsons. What he has done this year, disrupting the quarterback, is unlike anything I have personally ever seen in Green Bay. Since I've been covering the team, at least. Like I'm old enough to remember Reggie White and what he was for Green Bay, 96, 97. I mean, he won Defensive Player of the Year, I think in his age 37 season or something crazy like that. Like Reggie was different, but Micah is also different. He is a unique guy. And look, I don't have to be Marcus Mosher and constantly compare Micah Parsons to TJ Watt. That's his bit. I'll let him do it. But shout out to Marcus. But like, I did not like when you see a player from afar, you admire what they are, and you're like, that's a great player. Mm-hmm. When you see them in the building day to day, down to down, and what they're able to do, I'm blown away, Chris, like by what he's able to do and the way that he tilts the field, the way that he impacts games. I mean, the Packers do not like their deep ball percentages. Teams are not throwing the ball deep on them because they cannot. They will not. They do not. They just they won't even risk it. And it's a combination of 2 things, right? Micah can win quickly. And then back there's Xavier McKinney, the all-pro. Like he had 5 interceptions in 5 straight games last year. Teams have stopped trying to throw the ball deep on them. And so that's the cat and mouse game this week, Chris, is Aaron Rodgers. Only 2 quarterbacks in the NFL have gotten the ball out quicker on average than Aaron Rodgers this season. The quick passing game is the thing. And so like, what are you able to do? How efficient are you able to be? The Packers are the number 1 team defending yards after catch this season. They do not give up yards after catch. And that's been such a big part of the arsenal for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. The other side of it, Chris, is Jordan Love has just not been good under pressure this year. Just hasn't been. And he's been great. He's been great against the blitz because when he can ID it, but against pressure, he's taken more sacks, which is actually, I think, kind of good because he's not throwing the ball in harm's way, but has not been the sort of second reaction player that we've come to expect. So to me, that is such a big key in this game is what can it's not just TJ Watt, it's Herbig, it's Hayward, it's all these guys. And they can just mess up your game if you let them. And the good news for the Packers is if they don't, there's some problems behind them.
Absolutely. I think that the Steelers defense lives off of the pass rush. And also to your point, furthering about the Packers, not just Yak, the Packers have the best explosive play rate limit, against in the NFL. They're number 1 in that, and explosive pass play rate. To your point, people do not win on the deep ball on them too often. But to your point, the Steelers don't try to live off the deep ball. Granted, they have found a way to be successful on explosive plays. Like the Steelers, they're 11th in explosive pass plays. They're 7th in total explosive plays. But where I think the Steelers have to go in this game is they have to find a way to extend their drives. Because one thing the Steelers haven't done well at all this year is possess the football. They are 29th in time of possession. That has to change in this game. They have to be able to win. And especially because when the Steelers do get to 3rd and short, when you get to those 3rd and 3 or less situations, they're the best at converting those in the NFL. If they can sustain drives where Aaron Rodgers, hey, I may not get DK Metcalf to break off an 80-yard touchdown like he did against the Vikings, but if I can hit him on a slant here for 5, and then Jaylen Warren gets a run for 3, and then it's 3rd and 3, and now I can do different things because the Steelers, they love their tight ends. Last week, they had 4 touchdown passes. All 4 went to tight ends. Yeah. They love going to granted, that's Arthur Smith. It's like every day is tight end day for him. But I look at how they try to do, and that's the key to me. If you're going to counter a defense with Micah Parsons, you have to go at them in a way that, similar to how people play TJ Watt and to how the Steelers played Myles Garrett just 2 weeks ago, you 4 hands on him at all times, as Aaron Rodgers said to do in his interview on Wednesday. But get the ball out fast, be on time, be direct with where you're going. And on the flip side, the Steelers, like you said, you have to be the team that sets the pace. You can't let Josh Jacobs get going. You can't let the run game get going. That's what really killed them against the Bengals. As much as Jamar Chase ate them up, they take away the run game, it allows them to focus a little bit more on Joe Flacco. If Josh Jacobs gets going, and if Jordan Love's able to get his pass game into a rhythm, that's where you see the problems happening. But the key, like you said, is the pass rush being the key factor. If the Steelers can make that the story of the defense, they're in good places. When they don't, there's coverage busts everywhere.
I think one of the big things that stood out to me last week, Chris, obviously the quarterback duo of, 85-year-old Aaron Rodgers and 95-year-old Joe Flacco was a marvel to behold. And yet the Bengals being able to run the ball the way that they did, I was like, what is happening here? Like Chase Brown has been terrible. They cannot run the ball. And yet they ran the ball against this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And I was just sort of like, what exactly is happening here? And I can't really account for it. Like, I don't know if you can explain it. I know the linebackers have not been great this year. They also have not been great in the passing game. Both of their heavy rotation minute linebackers have passer ratings over 110 when targeted this season. And so it's just sort of like, after 20 targets of Jamar Chase, how does he run free on a crossing route over the middle? Like, how does that happen? I don't understand that part of it. Like, those are the parts of the defense that I don't understand, Chris. Like, if the Packers run the ball effectively, I don't know what Pittsburgh is going to do, because the Packers play action game is elite. This is one of the best play action games in the NFL. The Steelers give up big plays more than they would like. They're a better down to down defense than they are explosive play defense.
Right.
And so that's where I feel like the Packers this is going to be a heavy dose of Josh Jacobs early into play action shot play over your head. And that's going to be fascinating to watch, especially because this is a primarily single high defense that the Pittsburgh Steelers play. They play among the most single high in the NFL, and they play the most man coverage of any team the Packers have played this year. But the first 2 games of the season, when the offense has looked the best, frankly, was against man coverage teams in Detroit and Washington. They motioned those teams to death. They had great answers for man coverage, and their best man coverage receiver, Christian Watson, is going to be back this week. So Green Bay's going to have a lot of answers if they can protect Jordan Love. It is, to me, and I don't want to preempt the keys, but protecting Jordan Love is job 1, 2, and 3 this week. If you can protect Jordan Love, you are going to have opportunities. It's why I did a whole episode yesterday about the quick passing game. Chris, you want to take a guess what Jordan Love's completion percentage is on throws in less than 2.5 seconds is this year?
I'll say
89%.
I was short.
89.
80.
That he leads the league in completion percentage, but
that's insane.
But he has the second fewest throws in under 2.5 seconds in the NFL. So
wow.
They've been really, and he's third in EPA per play. So when they do it, they're wildly efficient, but they just don't do it. And so I just wonder if, like, I was like, I did a whole episode on, you need, I guess it's the same episode. So, but to borrow from the Aaron Rodgers playbook, get the ball out quickly the way the Steelers are, and make the Steelers tackle, make them, because you've got Matthew Golden's 4.28, Christian Watson 4.33. You've got speed. This defense is not the fast fly around defenses that we're used to. They are physical. They will hit you in the face. And I love that about them, but you get into space. We saw this from Jamar Chase. Like, there are opportunities to have here. Chris, do you think this is a heavy 12 team anyway, in terms of 2 tight ends on the field? I feel like this has got to be one of those games where you're going to park one of those tight ends on Micah Parsons' side, and it is chip release all day, right?
Get used to his name. His name is Darnell Washington. He's 6'7". He looks like he should be a tackle, but he plays tight end somehow, and he will be on Michael Parsons, I'd say about 75% of the time. If it's not him, it's Jonnu Smith or Pat Frymuth or Connor Hayward. But the Steelers love their tight ends, and partially also get used to this other name.
It's not even fair to call him a tight end. He's a left tackle that catches the ball sometimes.
Yes, and listen, he's gotten better at catching the football. He used to have one route. Two routes, flat and go. Now he can run a corner. Now he can run a slant. And that's what's making it a little more difficult to cover him, because now when you're sitting out there, you got to put your heaviest linebacker, get on that guy, or a defensive end. But when it's play action, like you saw against the Browns, like the first play in that game, they go play action, they go heavy formation. It's him. They got an extra offensive tackle on the field, and they call play action. No one goes with Darnell Washington in the pass because they're so worried about the run, and he gets an easy 30-yard gain. That's the thing that's going to be there. So he's going to be the guy.
Mike around, it's going to be tough to just match him. Like, he's not like Aiden Hutchinson, where he's just going to line, or Trey Hendrickson for that matter, who's just going to line up on one side. They'll line him up as a 3 technique. They'll line him up over the A gap. Like, they're going to put him everywhere. So it's going to test the rules. And Jeff Hafley loves a simulated pressure. He's going to test Aaron Rodgers. He's going to test the center, Zach Frazier. Can you get lined up? Can you get the protections right? We're going to see, like, Rodgers is going to get Micah Parsons on an offside. He's going to get a free play in this game. That has been a problem all year. Rodgers is the best I've ever seen at cadence. Jordan Love has picked right up. He's also very good at it, but it's been a problem for the Packers. And I would set the odds on FanDuel at like minus 280 that Rodgers is going to get Micah Parsons on a free play at some point in this game.
Let's talk more about those advantages and disadvantages on both sides of the ball for each team. That's next here on Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. But first, to remind you, this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda craft cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the players, they sweat through every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Back here on Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network, Chris Carter, Peter Bukowski, Locked On Steelers, Locked On Packers. All right, Peter, we've been talking about matchups. We've been talking about things that each team wants to do in the other parts of this. I feel like one thing the Steelers must get going in this game offensively is they got to get Jaylen Warren in their run game going. Now, another guy that also will be a factor, and a person who Michael Parsons will see, is Spencer Anderson. He is the swing tackle of the offense. He plays a lot. He comes on a lot, especially since week 4. And the Steelers, since week 4, have the most explosive run plays in the NFL, particularly because they have figured out a formula of, hey, put Spencer Anderson, put Darnell Washington and Jonnu Smith, and let's get these guys out there and let's get them running. And then they pull guys from all over the formation. Every player on this offensive line pulls and hits in space, and they have found ways to just get the ball to Jaylen Warren. And once he gets going and he gets that second level, he is so dangerous at that. To me, that is a big key factor in this game, is getting the run game going. How have the Packers been against the run, especially runs that try to stretch you out in space?
Yeah, so just by the traditional numbers, the raw yardage numbers, they have the best run defense in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the starting point. And Devontae Wyatt practiced on Wednesday. He has been a huge part of this defense this season. They were the best defense in the NFL through 3.5 games, really. And then he went out against the Cowboys, and we saw what happened in the second half of that Cowboys game. The Packers right now, they're 10th in DVOA against the rush. So it's not, if you adjust for schedule, efficiency, all that stuff, still, this is a very good run defense, in part because they will bring extra bodies into the box. They're not afraid to play heavy personnel. They're not afraid to play base. We've seen them, something they did in the preseason, Chris, that I'm interested to see if they do in a game like this, especially with all the tight ends that Pittsburgh wants to put on. They were playing some like traditional 3-4 type of stuff where they're going to play 3 true off-ball linebackers, like a true 3-4 base, like 3 true defensive linemen plus 2 defensive ends type players, like whether they're hand in the dirt or not. And so I wonder if that's something we see more in this game, maybe something we'd see more if Lucas Van Ness was also healthy. But if they can get Wyatt back, I think putting more defensive linemen on the field is something we'll definitely see, because Wyatt has been so disruptive as a pass rusher. He was leading the NFL in interior pressures when he got hurt. And Carl Brooks, who replaced him, is top 20 in interior pressures this season, even with only being the starter for the last 2.5 games. So that's definitely something that exists here. The Packers have been one of the best teams in the NFL all year in rushing for and getting pressure. So I think if you're going to try and run to pass, it's going to be tough in this game. Like I really think that's going to be, it's going to stress both sides. This is strength on strength to me. And we haven't seen a team with the size and physicality of Pittsburgh play the Packers yet. Not really. I mean, I guess Detroit, but they're not like Detroit's not getting in 13 personnel to try and run downhill or then play action off of it. Now the Packers do that in practice. We do see the Packers do stuff like that, but they don't employ Darnell Washington. They don't employ Brad Freiermuth. So it's a little bit of a different vibe here. And that's the tricky thing. Also, how are you going to convince Aaron Rodgers to not want to throw the ball 50 times in this game? Like it's going to be tough. And we know he's got, the freedom, right, to do technically whatever he wants, but he's been more restrained this year. We haven't seen him, just play buddy ball or just I'm just going to chuck it deep every play. So this is, I'm fascinated to see what the approach from Arthur Smith is going to be in this game. And Arthur Smith, we haven't talked about the Arthur Smith revenge factor. Arthur Smith used to work for Matt LaFleur.
Hey,
and so there is a let me show you how good I'm doing. And Arthur Smith, 2023, they came back to beat the Packers. Thank you, Joe Barry, in Atlanta a couple years ago. And, I'm sure he felt good about that. But then guess what happened? He got fired in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So it would be great for him to be like, hey, let me show you. I'm still really good at this. Come watch this. So there's a lot of interesting storylines here. What about this for Pittsburgh? Like, in terms of those explosive plays, do you think the Packers are going to have to be able to run the ball effectively to get to them? Or do you think straight drop first drive, they should be able to find some opportunities here?
I think the Steelers stress out and start to play hero ball too much when certain things start to not work. When you can run the football on them, all of a sudden guys start to come out of their gaps. Part of what's happened here is they do have the same defensive coordinators the past 3 years. And each of the past 3 years, they've been a top 10 defense. They've been structurally sound. They've kept it together. They may lose certain matchups, but ultimately they had a philosophy and they'd stick to it. This year, they have flipped their philosophy. They went from not being a blitzing team to now they blitz the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. They're being more aggressive. They're trying all these different things. And I think part of what's happened with that is with all the new pieces in place, they don't have Minka Fitzpatrick, who was basically the quarterback of that defense for the last 5 years. They brought in Jalen Ramsey, who's kind of like their new ace in the hole, who plays a lot of slot cornerback, sometimes outside, sometimes deep safety. They move him all around, but they have not found the cohesion consistently yet. They were starting to look like they were finding it between the Patriots win, the Vikings win, and the Browns win. But then that all went away when the Bengals were able to run the ball and then get the pass game going. And to me, that's the key for the Packers. Get Josh Jacobs going, and then all of a sudden you'll start to see Patrick Queen squeeze up a little too far, and then I'll open up more slants over the middle for Jordan Love. That play action will become a lot more available. But to me, it's that balanced attack that really messes up the Steelers. But if they force you to be one-dimensional, that's when you start to see TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Cam Hayward. They start to affect the game. So to answer your question, it's definitely that balanced look that you want. So running the ball will be key in this game.
I think you're going to see Green Bay try and do it. Josh Jacobs right now, by the way, Pro Football Focus is highest graded running back in the NFL. I always tell people you may not always agree with their grades, but I think directionally they tend to be accurate. If they say someone's awesome, they're probably pretty good. And if they say someone stinks, they're probably pretty bad. And so I think it just gives you a good indication of where this is. I think this game is going to be close, Chris. I think it's going to come down to final plays kind of thing.
I agree.
I already have the over in this. I have the Packers money line and the over parlayed together at almost 2-1, which I'm very happy about. I think that's where I have landed. I think this is going to be some sort of 30-27 kind of game. I'll take the Pack in it. And I know 10 days to prepare. Mike Tomlin, this defense is going to come out pissed off. I just think this offense is also going to come out a little pissed off because they started slow against the Cardinals. And Christian Watson, I think is a huge boost for this team. His ability against man coverage. This was the game 2 years ago. Even though the Packers lost to Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, to a man, the coaches and the players will tell you that was the game where they understood Jordan Love was different, that Jordan Love was the guy, because they saw him make throws in that game. Remember the deep over to Jaden Reed, squeezed in between coverage. He made some throws in that game where everyone just went, oh, wait, this guy has it. And so it would be kind of fitting to do that against Aaron Rodgers. Given all the symmetry, you look at all the numbers, Chris, they're eerily similar between these two guys through whatever it is, the first 40 games of their career, whatever it is. It would kind of be fitting to see it end that way.
It would be interesting to see that for sure. I think both teams are going to, first of all, I want to just stop all the Steelers fans who are spamming our comment section right now saying PFF doesn't mean nothing. They graded Myles Garrett better than TJ Watt when he had no sacks, no tackles, no nothing. And listen,
I get it. That's why I said your mileage may vary. I get it.
I was like, stop, calm down in the comment section. I know that y'all be blowing me up whenever someone says PFF on my show. But to his point, the Packers have been doing a lot of things in the right way. You look at their metrics: 10th best scoring defense, 7th best scoring offense. You go down the board, a lot of the metrics add up for what they're doing. This is not going to be an easy game for the Steelers. I do have the Steelers winning 30-24, but I think that's more about home game. Long week, like Peter said, defenses had time to rest and figure some things out. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, has been really wheeling and dealing. I think this run game's kicking in. This is going to be a close one. This is not going to be easy by any means. Again, 30-24. I think that's going to be the defense getting one of those crazy late game sacks that pulls them away. But this is going to be
they do that battle. Very annoyingly. They do that. They get the sack fumble late in the game. And you're just like, come on? Are you serious?
Where did that come from?
Yeah,
but we have one more day to break this down. You can find that in each of our shows, Locked On Steelers, Locked On Packers. Peter, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you all for joining us here on Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Find us each on our channels for our final episodes Friday, previewing this game moving forward.